Gee, Vaharja, I've been seeing this flying stripy things image again and again on the internet, so let's talk about it and expand on the information in the diagram. First up, we have the carpenter bees. Now, I love these little guys, and we've got them flying around my whole workplace. We provide them with cut bamboo sticks and drilled blocks of wood so that they can winter and lay their eggs in them. We have them out in the spring through the autumn, and we put them inside in the garage when the winter comes so that A, they don't freeze to death, and B, the woodpeckers and beetles don't eat them. As it says in the diagram, carpenter bees aren't actually dangerous. Yes, the female ones can sting you, but they prefer not to, and they'll only hurt you if you disturb them or hurt them first. They do fly around quickly and aggressively, but it's all for show, so you aren't actually in any danger unless you decide to mess with them. Obviously, if you're allergic, you can have a bad reaction to carpenter bee stings. However, if you're not allergic, it's typically just an initial stinging or pinching sensation and then dulls. If you want to treat the stings but don't have proper medical supplies, you can make a poultice of a quarter cup of aluminium-free baking soda and 1 to 2 teaspoons of water and rub it on the sting site. This provides a soothing sensation, and you can reapply it every 15 to 20 minutes. According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, baking soda can act as a neutralizer for the acidic sting and an inflammation mitigator. Again, like the diagram says, carpenter bees can decide to live in your fence. They'll make their homes in just about any wood they can find, so if you would like to avoid them chewing into your fence, you can provide them homes by drilling holes in blocks of wood or cutting 5 to 6 inch shafts of bamboo that have backs to them. Carpenter bees are fairly small, so the holes should be as well. Use about a 1/2 inch drill bit when drilling into the blocks of wood, and try to find about a 1/2 inch bamboo sticks as well. The carpenter bees will make a plug when they've laid their eggs, and you'll see them fill up come late spring or early summer. Many people consider them pests, but if you decide you want to support native bee populations and provide them habitat where it's been lost, it's pretty easy to give them homes. They're only pests to us because they're looking for a place to live after the forests and fields were taken away. And while I'm talking about carpenter bees, I'll also mention mason bees, which are similar. However, their mandibles aren't able to cut through wood, so if you would like to care for them, you do need to drill the holes yourself. For example, if you put out a block of wood without holes in it, carpenter bees would be able to make a home, but mason bees would not. Mason bees typically make their homes in pre-made holes that other insects make. Beetles bore holes in wood, so mason bees will find an abandoned hole, harvest some clay from the ground, and build their homes. Mason bees aren't aggressive either, but the females can sting if you annoy them, just like carpenter bees. Next, we have honeybees. These little guys are of the Apis species. They're worldwide now thanks to humans, but are native to Eurasia. The one people are typically referring to when they say honeybee is the species Apis mellifera, or the domestic honeybee. Since we're not doing a full rundown of the genus Apis, I'll stick to talking about Apis mellifera for now. These honeybees are about a 1/2 inch long, or 1.2 centimeters. They're divided both by sex and caste. Male honeybees are called drones and are larger than the females. You'll only see them in early summer, and they don't have stingers, so they're harmless. Female honeybees can be either workers that don't reach sexual maturity, or queens, which are larger and do reach sexual maturity. Female honeybees have stingers, but they're typically only aggressive if you disturb their hive. Honeybee reproduction is fairly straightforward, in that unfertilized eggs become drones, fertilized eggs become females, and females that are fed royal jelly become queens. As the name suggests, honeybees use nectar from flowers to make honey, which makes them a highly sought-after species. In the Western Hemisphere, Africanized bees were accidentally developed when African honeybees were released into the wild during a selective breeding experiment in Brazil and bred with feral European honeybees. These bees tend to be more dangerous than European honeybees and are considered invasive. In terms of stinging power, honeybees can only sting once. As I mentioned earlier, they tend only to sting people or other organisms that disturb their hives. Africanized honeybees are more defensive, but even during swarming season, both species of honeybee will only attack when disturbed. Africanized honeybees will attack in a larger swarm than European honeybees, for a longer duration of time over a larger area. Because of these differences, it's more likely for a person or animal to die from an Africanized honeybee encounter than a European honeybee encounter. Bumblebees are the fuzzy ones that you see and think, oh, I want to pet it. And though you shouldn't try, people who care for bumblebees can experience their fuzziness while their flying friend is asleep. They're extremely soft, and bumblebees thrive in temperate climates. They've been introduced to Oceania through colonization and farming, but are generally absent from Africa and the Indian lowlands. They're a social insect, meaning that, like other bees, they live in groups of the same species. Like the honeybee, they have two sexes and two female castes, the male drones, the female queens, and the female workers. The exception is the parasitic Cythyrus bumblebee genus, the species of which lay their eggs in bombus nests. Some species will kill the queen of the bombus hive, which leads to the bombus worker bees attending to the Pithyrus larvae without dividing their attention between them and their own bombus larvae, since there are no bombus larvae left. Bombus bumblebees themselves are quite interesting in their life cycle. A queen bombus bumblebee will go out on her own to find a new nest to make. She'll clean and care for the new nest until her workers are born, and they'll take over the maintenance of the nest, which makes the queen's only task to lay more eggs. She stops laying eggs in autumn, and the colony will die out over the course of the latter half of the year. After predation by moths and beetles during winter, the remaining larvae develop into fully formed bees, and the cycle will start anew, with one queen remaining and the other queens going off to start their own nests. Hoverflies aren't actually bees. They're from the Diptera order and are more closely related to houseflies. They don't bite or sting, and you can tell them apart by their fly-like eyes. They prey on aphids in their larval stage and play an important role in pollination, working with bulbs and onions. While they can vary in size, length, and color, they're not dangerous at all, and while they can look like bees, they have some features that are easily distinguishable to us if we know what to look for. There are features to look out for such as body shape, hairiness, thickness, but the way that I identify them personally, as I mentioned before, is their diptera-like eyes. They can be bulbous and red, like a fly's. Paper wasps are from the genus Polistes and of the family Vespidae. They're only 16 millimeters or 0.63 inches long. They have orange antennae, wings, and tarsi. The bodies can range in color, and the basal color being black or brown, and the bands being yellow with paired segmental spots. Paper wasps can sting, and it is painful, but their stings aren't as toxic as other species of wasps and hornets. Female paper wasps chew wood from dead trees, fence posts, and lumber, mix it with their saliva, and spit it back out to build their nests. They can make some beautiful creations if given the space, resources, and time. The nests you see are larval centers. Paper wasps allow for about 100 larvae per nest and prefer to build them in a secure location with a protective overhang, such as an awning or the roof of a house. Yellow jacket wasps are social wasps of the genus Dolichovespula and are common in the northern hemisphere. They vary in color and can be yellow and black, white and black, and some are even red and black. You can tell them apart from other wasps because, when at rest, their wings are folded longitudinally. Now, what does that mean? If you imagine the wasp's head as north and its thorax as south, longitudinal folding means that the wings are folded from their attachment in the north to the distal south. If you pay attention to the way different wasp genera and species fold their wings, you'll begin to recognize it. Dolichovespula like to build their nests in hidden locations, such as underground or in protected cavities. If you step on a nest, the inhabitants will explode with anger and swarm whatever they believe to harm them, be it a human, a bear, or a pet dog. Depending on resources and nest development time, some nests can weigh as much as 1,102 pounds, 1,000 kilograms, or a half a metric ton. I do my best to avoid them, but if they're flying around me and I'm working, I tend to stop moving and let them do whatever they're doing before I go back to work. It's better to take a few seconds and to not get stung than to try to keep working at the same pace and get stung. The informatic would have you believe that yellow jackets are inherently evil and will sting you the first chance they get. And while they are aggressive, as long as you keep on your own course, you should be fine. I've only been stung on one occasion by a yellow jacket, and that's when I went to pick up a tennis ball that had hit out of the court, and I annoyed a group of them. Cicada killers, or Species spiciosius, are a larger species of wasp. Color-wise, they're black and rusty, with yellow bands across their abdomen. They're about an inch to an inch and a half, or 2.5 to 3.8 centimeters long, and they don't bother humans. The adult females hunt cicadas, as the name suggests, using their brilliant movement-detecting eyes. They can use a venom to paralyze the cicada and store it in an underground burrow. The female then lays an egg on top of the cicada, and within the course of the next few days, the egg hatches and the larva uses the cicada as fresh food. The cicada is kept fresh because it's been paralyzed instead of killed. If you see a wasp/hornet type insect with reddish eyes and a rusty color, it's likely a cicada killer, and it doesn't want anything to do with you. I wouldn't bother it, though, just in case. Just let it go about its own business. And in terms of its sting, only female cicada killers can sting you. They're not aggressive, nor are they territorial. However, if you happen to annoy it or step on it with bare feet, the sting can be quite painful. While they're native to the eastern United States, cicada killers are sometimes considered pests because they excavate dirt to make their nests. As people who are living alongside other species and would like them to survive, I personally believe that providing them with the habitat and space to exist is important, as they're critical to our food web. Without cicada killers and other cicada predators, we would be drowning in cicadas with each brood, and their larvae would consume numerous crops and flowers, as they saturate the soil with each brood. While they can be annoying buzzing around, I don't believe they're as bad as the alternative, which is putting our systems all out of whack. And all in all, if you choose not to bother them, they're not going to bother you. Dirt daubers, or mud daubers, are a solitary species of wasp. This means that a single insect will build a nest and provide it with food for its children, which live in nests built of mud, hence the name, in attics, outbuildings, or eaves. Dirt daubers provide their children with paralyzed spiders to eat, and as I mentioned with the cicada killers, paralyzed prey is better than dead prey because the food is kept fresh for the predator's offspring. Mud daubers can sting you, but it's highly unlikely, and it'll feel kind of like a regular bug bite or sting. If you've ever been bitten by a horsefly, it'll hurt a lot less than that. The dirt dauber's venom is mild, so the sting would be less aggressive and itchy than a bee or a wasp sting. Unless you're allergic, the most it will do will cause redness or discoloration in your skin. Regardless, the only reason they would ever sting you is if they're feeling physically mishandled, such as by an entomologist, or if they feel threatened, such as if you're swinging an electric racket against them. Now, I've attached bald-faced hornets to this list for a couple of reasons. First of all, they're absolutely beautiful with their black and white stripe pattern and the way their thoraxes wiggle when they're walking around. Second, they're the reason I only have one eye. They're a powerful insect and should be treated both with respect and with caution. I'll start with the sting. Their sting can be exquisitely painful. They have smooth stingers and can sting repeatedly. I myself received 5 stings in my eye in about a second. Luckily, I'm not allergic. However, the swelling caused by the bald-faced hornet sting led to damage to my optic nerve and my development of glaucoma. I was very lucky not to have been stung directly on the eye, and I'd rather not have hornet venom roaming around my aqueous humor. In terms of basic information, bald-faced hornets are a type of wasp, not a hornet. They're not particularly big, but are easily identifiable by the coloring of white and black with their black eyes and huge mandibles. If their body color isn't identifiable enough, their nest is extremely identifiable, consisting of a large gray ball-shaped nest that can range from about an inch to 3 feet in height. There's a single opening leading to the nest, leading to 3 or 4 tiers of combs surrounded by the paper shell. While bald-faced hornets pose a threat to humans, they're extremely important pollinators, so, even though I'm absolutely terrified of them with my entire being, I would recommend that if they're nested in a tree, you let them stay there, because they're more important for our ecosystem than they are dangerous to us. Just do your best not to get near them. If they've nested themselves near a doorway or a walkway that you frequent, however, I would get rid of the nest as soon as possible, as they're extremely aggressive. Ridding your house of the nest early both saves you a lot of pain and worry and encourages the hornet population to build their nest somewhere further away. I hope you learned some valuable information from this video. If you have any questions or comments about the insects we talked about, leave a comment below. Here out on the farm, we always appreciate a like and a subscribe. Let us know what you'd like us to cover next. Slán live, agus go raibh maith agaibh.